So this class is mainly encouraged by many monks and swamis. We don't visualize enough when we do our practices. We always do the practice without even thinking about what we're doing. We just do the mechanical work when you do hatha or ashtanga. And I feel like it's really important, and it adds a new dimension when we visualize the pose before doing it. A little bit like athletes, what athletes do. They focus on what they're doing and they visualize and they connect with what they're doing, and then they see themselves, for example, victorious or whatever, and they go. Same with a public speaker. A public speaker also, they visualize, they see themselves on stage, they feel what it feels like to be in front of people. So in yoga, at least in asanas, it's the same thing, and even more, because what we're doing here is also spiritual. We want to meditate, we want to feel the union between us and everything, and the connecting with the posture before doing it has a lot of benefits. To visualize the pose and to even like connect with it can have a lot of therapeutic effects, because sometimes we can't really go deep in the pose because of a blockage in the body that comes from maybe a problem that the person has, either a physical problem or maybe like a stress in life. Sometimes when you get stressed in life, we adopt different postures, like micro postures that aren't good for us, but it's more like a defense mechanism. A lot of people, for example, have a hunch in the back, and their hunch is like a protection. They're always like this. So if they do yoga, or at least asanas, and they engage mentally and emotionally with the pose before doing it, one thing that they can do, as they imagine their back being straight, even though they can't straighten it because of the curvature in their body, in their spine, when they at least mentally imagine themselves being able to fully open up, this will trigger something at some level. Maybe not that much, but at least something will happen. Like there's a hint that, oh, maybe for the last few years, maybe I was too stressed and I just adopted this posture. So by having this curiosity of engaging mentally with the posture and opening up and visualizing yourself becoming more straight. And if in the mind we feel like, okay, I cannot be straight because I've been like this all of my life, this alone is good to here ask a question like, okay, I'm visualizing what's happening. I'm trying to, before doing the asana, this is all the visualization. I'm trying to get deep, to straighten the back. And then in my head, for example, let's say that I'm somebody who has a curvature. In my head, I go like, it's interesting, I can't go for more. Why is that? And then you feel like why, and then maybe here there will be a clarity like, oh, I've been stressed all of this time, but the stress isn't serving me anymore. I don't need it. I'm not, things aren't that bad. And then maybe something will happen, and then they'll be able to open up. I think that this would be ideal. I don't think that it happens for most people, but sometimes little realizations like that can happen. And so there are many reasons why then. It's also good to visualize and connect with the posture, because let's say that me, for example, I have a hard time sitting in the lotus. I don't know if it's really bone on bone, or if it's because of an injury that I had when I was a kid. I know that somebody threw me from a high in a hole, and I had to walk on crutches for 2 years, from 5 to 7. Yeah. So maybe that's why I can't sit like that. Maybe subconsciously I try to protect my hips all the time. So instead of forcing myself to be in the lotus position, like mechanically, it's good to relax, visualize why I can't, or at least try to sit in the lotus position in my mind. And as I sit and relax, if I can't do it in my head, here again, I would ask myself, interesting, why can't I? and then I try to sit with this feeling. And then maybe I can play with it a little bit more and tell myself, okay, mentally or with the power of my imagination, I will just imagine myself being able to sit in a lotus position. And then imagine that I am actually sitting in a lotus position, even though I can't mechanically. And then imagine how it feels like to be in this position. How it feels like. And then maybe this feeling could lead to maybe one extra degree in my range of motion. Or not. Who knows? But it's good to...
You first sit in a meditative position, close your eyes and imagine that posture and then try it out?
Yes. And this is what we will do.
Or you can do like in between the postures, like some yoga teachings, they put like shavasana almost like in between every yoga posture. So while you lie in shavasana, you're already contemplating about like the next posture and visualize it. Then you do the posture, and then you go back to shavasana, visualize the next posture, do the posture.
Yeah. And
during the posture, you do normal asana, open eyes.
yeah, during the posture, you do the posture normally. But again, like you connect with it the way you connected with it in your visualization. So let's say that we have visualized the posture and we have connected with it and asked ourselves these inquiry questions for a few minutes, and then now is the time to do the posture. Instead of just doing it mechanically, also like keeping this connection with it and feeling, maybe at the exit I can go deeper and going deeper and feeling like, how does it feel like? What is the quality of this depth? How does it feel like? Is there any tingling? Is there any bitterness? Sometimes I feel bitterness in my body. If something hurts and I push, I can feel acidity and I can feel bitterness. I don't know how to explain it, but I do feel like it's almost like a taste in the body. But everybody has a different approach, so it's up to you to feel what it is that you're going to feel. And I think that a good way also to, as you do the mechanical pause, if you feel that you're going deeper in the pause, that would have meant that your visualization was maybe successful. So I would say let's try. Pick a pose that you want to pick, like any pose that you personally find difficult. To me, for example, is sitting cross-legged. Imagine like sitting cross-legged for me is difficult, so this is the one that I would choose. We're going to visualize for like 3 minutes ourselves doing the like how I explained it, and then we'll do the pause for like maybe 2 minutes and interact with the pause, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll do another pause that you will decide. So close your eyes and decide which pose you want to work on. And before you start, just relax yourself, like feel fully relaxed. All of your body is relaxing. No stresses, nothing. Just a full relaxation. Feel that you're melting because you're so relaxed. And then pick the pose that you want to work on and visualize you exceeding, like if you have a problem reaching a barrier, feel why is this the case, and then feel like you're going fully in the pose in a way that you were never able to do before. And how does that feel to you? So in 3 minutes, I'll let you know. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I mean, it takes a while. It's not like in one session. It takes weeks and months. Keeping like visualizing and connecting and feeling the movement will help. And I feel that this kind of exercise is also good for in life in general, because everything that we do, if we can connect with it instead of reacting right away, it's like I think that this is such a a simple prototype, because we're using something as simple as a movement to train ourselves to be with it, feel what it's feeling like. Is my blockage coming from a good place in me? Maybe my blockage is coming from a defense. Maybe my hips, for example, are defending something, they're protecting something. So instead of saying, oh, what the fuck, I would say, thank you, hips, you've been protecting me for all of these years, but now I don't need this protection anymore. So thank you very much, you've been protecting, but now I'm fine, you can relax. So it's a bit like being grateful for whatever is happening. And again, like, it's such a good prototype because it's simple. We're just using the movement, a simple movement, but if we extrapolate by doing this, it can spread in different areas in our lives, like our relationships with other people, or our relationship with ourselves. For sure, in life, life is much more complex and complicated. But like sometimes it's good to, a bit like in meditation, when we focus on the breath. The breath is so simple, but it can help in meditation, the samadhi later on, which is much more complex. So here is the same thing. Like it's a little bit similar. So yeah.
Yeah. What is nice is that you visualize the thing and you expect to have like a certain issue during this posture. You see, like, okay, if I do this, probably like the problem will be my hips. My hips will be not open enough. And then you do this posture, and then you realize it's not the hips, it's me. And it's interesting to see how that, you know, your body, right?
Yeah.
It's like a realization that we should actually know that.
Yes, yes.
That the knee is actually the main problem, not the hips.
Yeah, that's a very good observation. Like how does it feel? For example, my hips, it feels like a little bit frustrating to me, but it also feels like I have a sense of gratitude, and I have a sense of blockage, and sometimes there's a little bit of bitterness. There's an element that's bitter.
Yeah.
And sometimes the pain is pleasant, sometimes the pain isn't pleasant. So depending on which part of the body is reacting. So these things are also good to develop, because they will develop also the sensitivity of the person. So the meditative aspect will become richer because we develop these sensitivities and this ability to feel better the feelings. Not to feel better, not to feel happier, but to better become at feeling things. Whether it's happiness or sadness or fear or whatever, like to differentiate, and this will lead to better decisions in life, because if we don't know how to feel, we react like that. But if we learn how to better feel something, this can be like a good anchor to navigate life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to do another move? Do you have any other? So let's sit or lay down and imagine another pose that you want to do. 3 minutes, and we'll do it.